video, I wanted to talk about these threaded scarf beanies that I have made. I'd seen a pattern on headhuggers.com, which is a chemo hat pattern website where they have free patterns, and I'd seen a crocheted version, and I wanted to see if I could come up with something similar for the loom. This is on my Ravelry page. I will put a link below. This particular hat, these are all done in Hometown USA yarn, which is Lion brand. You can buy at Walmart for $2.99. And I'll show you the pattern in a moment. This particular, I like to dye these. I dye these scarves myself, and they're really inexpensive. And I'll talk about that as well. This particular hat is garter stitch all the way through the hat. So I think I did about 3 or 4 garter ridges. And then I started the loops, and then I completed it with the garter stitch. And it makes a nice hat, very warm. There's not a lot of air that goes through it or anything like that. I did this on the 44 peg loom, but I did one on the 36 peg because I think it will work as well for this yarn because it's a super bulky yarn. So this was one that I did today, and this was on the 36 peg 3/4 inch gauge loom. And once again, this time I did the same thing. I did a garter stitch brim, but then I did a row of figure 8 stitch, and you can look that up if you're not familiar with it. And then another row, so I did 2 rows of figure 8, and then I just E-wrapped the rest of the hat. And I wanted to see how well the scarf would fit through the figure 8 stitches, and it actually does pretty well. So on the back side of the scarf is just the figure 8 stitch, and I just bring it up and then thread it through like so. So that about every, I think I counted 5 stitches, threaded it through 2, and then counted 5, and then threaded it through 2. So, and then I tied a knot on the side, and this is another scarf that I dyed as well. So those are 2 different patterns, 2 different ways, really super easy that you could do these patterns. I think, I don't know that one's either better than the other one. I kind of like the loops a little bit better. It allows a little more of the scarf to show through. So I like that one a little bit better. So I'm going to do one now on the 36, and this is going to look, the brim will be similar to this because we're going to do the loops. But I did the brim, I think, 1 more garter ridge longer. And this time I'm only doing 6 stitches on the loops. So I did cast on, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. And then I started with my loops. So how you do the loops is, and I go this direction, if you go the other way, it'll be the opposite. You're going to just E-wrap 1 stitch. Okay, lift it over. And then I'm going to come back to the back. Okay, so that was 1. This is 2. I'm just going to come back around to the front. Oops, come back around to the front again. 3, 4, 'Don't make this too tight. 5, and 6. Okay, then you're just going to move to the next peg. So I'm going to, sorry, can't see my hands. So I'm going to E-wrap that peg. Okay, lift it over, then come from the back to the front. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And you'll just repeat that until you have 6 loops. And I think 6 on the bigger loom because I was doing it on a 5/8 inch gauge, and this is a 3/4 gauge. I think 6 loops on this will be plenty for the scarf. So, and actually, you know, you're going to end up with this thread right here, because when you go from one peg to the other, you end up with this thread. And I just make sure that when I put the scarf through, that these yarns are on the underside. Okay, and they're not sticking out at the top. You'll know what I mean when you go to thread your scarf. So then from here, once you get your loops finished, you could do anything you wanted. I think on this one I may do a spiral pattern. So you could just E-wrap the rest of it. You could do a garter stitch the rest of it. You could do a spiral the rest of it, or any other pattern that, you know, you can think of. Use your imagination. I'll put all the information in the description below for the scarves. Scarves are different. This happens to be a little bit wider one. So you can see they're different widths, and they're silk. They're 100% silk. They're called Habotai, Habotai, Habotai silk. So you can see on this one that these are a little bit wider. Well, let's measure. This is the 8. I'm sorry, 8 by 72 inches, I believe is what that is. 8 by 72. I will put the dimensions in the description. This one appears to be not quite 11, almost 11 inches. Okay. So this one is a little bit more narrow, and it's a little bit longer. This one is a little bit wider, but I think it will still work. It just happens to be what I had in my stash of scarves. So when you buy the scarves, they look like this. They're just plain white silk. I can put the link. There's a link in my pattern to the video on how to do this. It's so simple. You won't believe it. And these are about $3, $3.50 or $3.60, something like that a piece. If you order, I think 10 or 12, the price continues to go down. And then once you dye them, and you can use different dye colors, you can get something like this. This is one where all I used was black and this turquoise color, and then the part that's white is just the part of the scarf that was white. I would try to say not to use too terribly many colors, and the reason why is you can end up getting, here's a purple one. I think this was 3 different colors, and then you can end up getting stuff like this, where I think I had a green on here. When the green and the pink and stuff mix together, you almost get or when the yellows mix together with other colors, you almost get a dark greenish color, which it ended up being okay. I kind of like it, but you just have to be careful if you mix too many colors, because then you'll end up sometimes with brown or black or some kind of color that'll take away from the pretty colors you're trying to achieve. So the scarf dyes are really inexpensive as well. I think you can get a whole kit for, I don't know, $25 with a whole bunch of different colors in it. So this is actually called Silk Dye, and the brand is Jacquard, and it's Jacquard Green Label, okay, because Jacquard has different ones. This is the Green Label one, and these are the ones that I really, really like. I like the Jacquard Green Labels, and you can buy these separately. I think these are, I don't know, $2.75 or something each. These are paints. Okay, so silk paint and silk dye are 2 different things. This is called Dynaflow, and this is also available at Dharma Trading, which I'll put the website down below so you can see it. So this is called Dynaflow, and it's also by Jacquard, but it is a paint. And from what I understand, and if you look at the Dharma Trading website that I'll put in the description below, they explain the difference in paint and dye. Apparently the dye actually adheres to the fibers, and the paint just more like sits on top. In a nutshell, the paints do not come out, or for me did not come out nearly as dark as the dyes. The dyes, the green label dyes, are really, really deep and rich in colors like this. And the dyes, this is a combination. So when I started out using the dye on this one because I wanted to see what the dyes would look like. And it ended up being really light like this. So the purple color ended up being real light. So then I took it after I had already put the paint on there and I added the dyes because I like that. And all you have to do, and there's a video, instructional video you can look at, is you just take these and you put a little bit of vinegar and water. And in the video, I think it tells you what the ratio is. A little bit of vinegar and water, soak your scarf, get it wet. Get just a regular Pyrex cooking dish and like a glass Pyrex dish. So just the regular casserole dish, because this fits in my microwave because you need it. If you have a turntable microwave, it has to be a dish that's small enough it can spin around. So all you do is you wet your scarf in your vinegar and your water, and then you can just scrunch it up and put it in here. Pick your dye colors, and I put my dyes because I've done this. I've spilled these dyes when I've been trying to use them out of the whole bottle. So get the little paper Dixie cups and then just put a little bit of dye in there. Then I just take an eyedropper like this, and I just pick up one color and I dot it around. And then I have a different, don't use the same eyedropper for different color dyes. Have one for each color dye. So like I have 3 of these because I don't usually ever use more than 3 colors. So let's say I have one for my yellow, one for my blue, and one for my pink or whatever. And then I just dot my blue, and then I dot my pink, and then I dot my yellow. Then you're going to put it in the microwave for about 3 minutes. I think on the video it says 4, but 3 is plenty. And understand, when you put vinegar and water in the microwave, it's going to stink to high heaven. So if you have a exhaust fan or a window you can open a window and turn on an exhaust fan, or your eyes will be burning. And what that does is it actually sets the dye into the scarf. There is a dye fixative that you can order from Dharma Trading, and I actually do have some of that. But if you use the vinegar and water and put it in the microwave method, then all you have to do is rinse it out with water really good. And then you can dry it with a blow dryer. They dry really quickly. And then I usually iron them when they're very damp because they're going to be very, very wrinkled once you get done with them. So this will be the next hat that I'm doing with this yarn. And this is the scarf that I'm going to put with it. And I think even though this is a little bit wider than the other ones, that it will still be fine to use in this hat. These are excellent chemo caps. The only hats I do are for donation to the Cancer Center in Denver. And it's just my passion because I lost a lot of family members to cancer. So I find joy in just doing chemo caps. So hopefully that helps you. And if you have a local cancer center near you, just call them and ask them what their requirements are. Sometimes if you donate to the national groups like Knots of Love, they have yarn requirements. They only accept certain kinds of yarn. Hometown USA, I'm sure, is certainly acceptable because it's really, really soft. But go ahead and check with them. My cancer center will pretty much take anything, any kind of yarn that you want to use. If all your budget is for is Red Heart, a lot of times they'll take hats made with that, even though it's not the softest yarn. You can always wash them in a softener before you, in a non-scented softener before you drop them off. So if it's your passion, then God bless. And I hope this has been a helpful video in helping you make chemo caps.